Welcome to Math Movies with Miss Feuer-Beck and Miss Veluti. Today we will be learning how to multiply fractions times a whole number. Brad is biking on Martha's Vineyard. The trail is 48 miles long. He rides 3/4 of the way and stops to get an ice cream. How many miles did Brad bike before he got an ice cream? Well, first, it might be helpful for me to think about what are some of the important ideas in this problem. I'm noticing that the trail is 48 miles long. He rides 3/4 of the way. And it's asking me how many miles did Brad bike before he got an ice cream. So I'm trying to figure out how far 3/4 of 48 is. So one way that I might think about solving this problem is that 3/4 of 48, another way of representing that, is by simply using multiplication. This really is 3/4 times 48. So I can use a fraction bar to help me in solving this problem. I can imagine that this entire fraction bar is equal to the entire length of the trail. So the whole fraction bar might be 48 miles long. And since I know that he's riding 3/4 of the way, it would be helpful for me to start by breaking the trail into 4 equal sections. So I can cut it in half, and then cut each of those halves in half again. And now I have fourths. Each of these sections is equal to 1/4. So that means I need to think about how many miles are in each of these 4 sections. So I can do that by thinking about 48 divided by 4 equals 12. So there are 12 miles here, 12 miles here, 12 miles, 12 miles. But we know that Brad is only biking 3/4 of the way. So Brad is biking 3 of these fourths, which is 12 plus 12 plus 12, or another way of thinking about that is 12 times 3 equals 36. So Brad is biking 36 miles before he stops to get an ice cream. Here's another situation. Mary is baking muffins. To make 1 dozen muffins, she needs 2/3 a cup flour. She wants to make 6 dozen muffins. How many cups of flour does Mary need to make 6 dozen muffins? I'm going to go back and find some of the important information in this problem. To make 1 dozen muffins, she needs 2/3 a cup flour. Wants to make 6 dozen muffins. And then the question it's asking me is how many cups of flour does Mary need to make 6 dozen muffins? So it sounds like to me that she's making this recipe and that the recipe will only make 1 dozen muffins, but she wants to times that recipe by 6 so that she can make 6 dozen muffins. And she's really curious about how many cups of flour she might need. So this problem then is saying I have 6 groups of 2/3. Because I need to make 6 dozen muffins, so therefore that's the 6. And the 2/3 is representing that in 1 dozen muffins, you only need 2/3 cup of flour. So she needs to make 6 groups of that to figure out how many cups of flour to make 6 dozen muffins. So again, I might think about using this fraction bar to help me. And what I'm thinking about is that I'm going to break the fraction bar into sections. And so if I have 6 groups of 2/3, that's making me think that I have 6 equal sections, and each of them is equal to 2/3 cups of flour. So I have 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3. And then I'm going to start thinking about how I can combine some of these pieces together. So I know that these 2/3 plus another 2/3. That is 4/3, which is the same as 1 1/3, because 3/3 would be a whole, and then I'd still have a third left over. And that means that these 2/3 plus 2/3 is also equal to 1 1/3, and that these 2/3 are equal to 1 1/3. And now I have 1 1/3 plus 1 1/3 plus 1 1/3. And so again, I can think about, maybe if I think about all of the wholes here, I have 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. And then I have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, which is really 3/3, or another whole. So I have a total of 4 cups. So 6 groups of 2/3 equals 4. Mary needs 4 cups of flour to make 6 dozen muffins. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned more about multiplying fractions times a whole number.